Thank you, Augustine. Before I start, may I just say, I know you named, uh, Commissioner Joshi. I know you named, I believe, both Fausto Luna and Roy Kim, and I want, I also wanted to just express our condolences again to both of those families. But I also, on behalf of Taxi Workers Alliance, wanted to express our condolence to the family of Mark Hardikoff. I remember him well from when we first started organizing in this industry, and he's always, always a real gentleman. And he was one of the people that really listened fairly to drivers, and we were really saddened by his loss. So good morning, everybody. My name is Bhairavi Desai. I'm the executive director of the New York Taxi Workers Alliance. I know that it's gonna seem like we're asking you to basically do the impossible. Like everybody in this room, in this industry, understands that the state passed a law, and the Taxi Limousine Commission, as the regulatory agency, has to take guidance from that state law. But what we want to say to all of you is that on the day that the state passed the law, like a lot of us in this room, we were on the steps of City Hall, literally the same day. We were on the steps of City Hall with 4 coffins laid out in front of us. Nicanor Ochasor had just died, and we were out there, mourning our brother and raising a spotlight on the devastation that has impacted this workforce across this industry. On the day they passed it, 4 suicides. Today, there have been 8 suicides. I know, Commissioner Joshi, you know this well. I know you've already testified that the implementation of congestion pricing as it stands, it is going to absolutely devastate the yellow cab industry. There's no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. And I don't think it's enough to even say that the 75 cents and the 250 need to be equalized. It's not even enough to say that the rate of fares need to be equalized. The bottom line is the yellow cab sector has to be exempt from this surcharge. And we're not going to give up on that fight. We believe that Albany, their eyes and their hearts can be open to the plight that is unfolded for this workforce since the day that they passed this rule up to today. And what we ask you as our regulator, as an entire, not just to our chairwoman, but to the entire board of commissioners, is take and, act with your conscience and stand with us. Don't have a quorum at your meeting when you have to pass this regulation. When we're out there in front of the governor's office, stand with us. Ask our governor to show us mercy. Ask him to show mercy for our elderly driver brothers and sisters who in their 70s are out of retirement and back to work. I can't tell you the shame that I feel when I see somebody who's 75. We at the vigil for Roy Kim in Flushing, we had a Korean driver brother who said to me, I'm 72. I had been retired. I'm an owner driver. He came out of retirement and is now back to work. The number of our brothers and sisters in their 60s who think they will never see retirement in their days. I mean, it is such a devastating, crisis in this industry. In 2009, when the MTA 50-cent surcharge was passed and it was on yellow cabs alone, the livery sector was exempt. And it was exempt because Albany at the time said, one, they did not have a proper means of regulating the collection, and number two, that the bases were small businesses and they wouldn't be able to take the hit. Well, since then to now, the yellow cab sector has contributed $1 billion to bail out the MTA. Even if this, devastating fine, really, that it's a punishment. They're punishing the victims of congestion, and they're giving a loophole to the perpetrators. And by the way, for anybody who has an ounce of doubt that this would be devastating to the yellow cab sector, there's only one company you need to ask, and that's Uber Technologies. Because on the eve, right before this agreement was made as to the amounts, I believe Augustine yielded his time. But, when on the eve when this vote was, when it was taken place, Uber and company, Uber alone, as reported in court, lobbied spending $100,000 for this version that passed. Okay, they know this will be devastating. When 90% of yellow cab trips, 90% of yellow cab trips, over 90%, are going to be in the affected zone, number one. Number two, you're going to be losing ridership. Forget it. Whatever tips have somehow managed to miraculously survive after Uber and Lyft have destroyed the tipping culture, with congestion pricing, it's going to be completely destroyed in the yellow cab sector altogether. They know that. They know that they got themselves a loophole of 75 cents while their biggest competitor is going to have to charge $2.50. They also know that since 2017, they no longer charge the passenger with transparency of distance and time on the receipt. We have submitted to the TLC 1,000 UberX trips, which detail for you how much the passenger was charged under upfront pricing, how much the driver was paid, which of course is at a much lower rate, and how much that same trip would have been under a yellow cab, green cab meter rate. On average, per trip, UberX trips today under upfront pricing are 8.9% higher than the yellow cab meter, but nobody would know it because it's a Wall Street financed $100 billion operation, to misguide the public into still believing that somehow they're cheaper. And they get away with it because of that money, and because they're not under regulation, and because there's no transparency required of them as to what they're actually charging. So they're, within loopholes, they've managed to get additional loopholes as far as congestion pricing is concerned. And deep in that abyss is where a workforce of 100,000 people are falling into. There have been thousands of bankruptcies and foreclosures already. By February, there are going to be thousands more. People are going to lose their entire savings. And so we say to you, stand with us, be our voice. Nobody has the first-hand witness testimony that you as the Taxi and Limousine Commission have. Nobody knows more the $1 billion these men and women have contributed with their sweat and labor more than you. Nobody knows more how devastating this is going to be. Nobody knows more the phone calls you're going to have to face from drivers who say, I'm about to be homeless. I'm feeling desperate. What do I do? The governor's not going to answer that call, but you will. Tell them that, and tell them you don't have an answer. Because when this happens, you won't have an answer. We haven't had an answer up to now. There is no way we're going to have an answer for something this devastating. This isn't about bike lanes. This isn't about neutrality. This is about people literally living, reaching a point where they can literally live, where they could survive. I have gone from being a labor union activist who is talking about livable incomes to living workers. This is so shameful. And you can be our voice of conscience. You are our witness. You are on that front line with us. You can help us tell that story to Albany. It is not too late.
Thank you,
We can
Bhairavi.
still fix this.
Thank you so much.
We can fix it. But we can't fix it without you. I also have written testimony.
Thank you.